1969 as a navigational tool for European sailors.
The map enlarges areas at the poles to create straight lines of constant bearing or geographic direction.
So it makes it easier to cross an ocean.
But
Yes?
it distorts the relative size of nations and continents.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes?
Here we have Europe drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
It has fidelity of axis.
Fidelity of position.
East-west lines are parallel and intersect north-south axes at right angles.
What the hell is that?
It's where you've been living this whole time. Should we continue?
Uh-huh.
Africa looks so much smaller now. What's happening? Are the tectonic plates changing so much that when we take pictures now, the land mass has changed? Or is it just pure CGI all along?
That's a good one. Yeah, the tectonic changes are causing the CGI pictures to become very different as the years go on. That's a good point. Take a look at these images coming from NASA and RASA and JAXA and all these different space agencies. The Chinese, the Japanese, some of these are even worse than NASA, and you'll notice how clearly fake they are, how obviously Photoshop CGI they are. And when you compare them to one another, you'll notice these impossibilities like the water always being different shades of blue every single picture. The size of continents changing from picture to picture. One time, North America filling up the entire picture. One time, it being just a tiny little speck on the upper part. You'll have on the animations, you'll notice that the clouds almost never move. You'll see a spinning ball Earth with the exact same cloud formations for 24 hours. Take a look at these anomalies, not only on the pictures of the Earth, but on the pictures of the moon. Because we've never been to the moon either. NASA's moon landing hoax is all about going far enough away, supposedly, that they could turn around and take a picture of this spinning ball Earth they've been talking about for 450 years and say, hey, we were right. Look at that. And the raging debate that had been going on since the late 1800s from Samuel Rowbotham and the other flat earthers then was almost in an instant put to rest by this so-called photographic evidence in an age where most people believed we went to the moon because they heard it on the radio. Nowadays, we have computers, we have Photoshop, we can see these things. You can see anomalies in the original NASA images just by putting them into Photoshop. For instance, you will see many of the images of Earth supposedly taken from the moon have artifacts, rectangular artifacts around the Earth embedded in the image, proving that the image of the Earth was actually cut and pasted in a computer program and put there that way. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a rectangular splotch of blackness around the Earth in space. There's also images where you can see the shadow of a ceiling above the rover as it's taking off from the moon, because it's simply being lifted by a crane overhead in a studio. Many of these things, these have all been exposed. This is common knowledge amongst us educated conspiracy folk that you like to ridicule and laugh at and call stupid flat earthers. But this is just a fact. You can't land on the moon. There's nothing to land on. It's just a light. And I can prove it to you right now. Go out on any afternoon and look at the moon. You'll see the blue of the sky through the part of the moon that isn't illuminated, proving that it couldn't be a solid sphere to land something on, but that it's just a light and you can see through it. People have photographed stars through the moon. You can see the blue of the sky through the moon during any waxing and waning cycle. You can see for yourself that it's a light, and it's casting its own light, unlike they tell us that it's a reflector of the sun's light. You can prove that its light is different from the sun's light. It's cold. If you take a thermometer and put it in the shade, and another thermometer and put it in the direct moonlight, it's actually colder in direct moonlight, and the thermometer will go up in the shade, the exact opposite of the sun. It's like the yin-yang. If you picture the yin-yang symbolism in Chinese astrology, I guarantee anyone who's never heard of this before, look into the flat Earth. The Earth is flat, just like it appears on the horizon. The Earth is motionless, just as you feel motionless. Everything in the sky revolves around us, just as it appears if you look up and use your own eyes, your own senses. Everything that your senses tell you is what's happening. But you've been fed a false system. You've been shown CGI images with a ball Earth with a horizon that curves. You've been shown more CGI images with a ball Earth that spins. You've been shown planets that spin like billiard balls around each other in many different directions at many different speeds simultaneously. You've been shown all these things in CGI format. You've had Freemasons lie to you and tell you they've seen it for themselves, but you've never seen it for yourself. You've just been lied to and shown pictures, and you believe those. It's not science. Science, in fact, shows that the Earth is flat and motionless. And there are hundreds upon hundreds of proofs and experiments that have been repeated throughout history for hundreds of years, but you haven't been taught them in school because they don't want you to be taught that in school. They show you a spinning globe on your first day and tell you that gravity keeps water and buildings and people stuck to the bottom of that thing, and they repeat it until you believe it, your parents believe it, your grandparents believe it. 500 years ago, people were believing it. They even started trying to get people to believe it thousands of years ago, but it didn't pass until about Copernicus in 1500s when this really started to take shape. So the reason that some of the pseudo-truthers, so to speak, or just mainstream sheeple don't want this to get out and say that it's a distraction, it's because they don't know how far-reaching the implications of a truth this deep actually surfacing would be. It's like holding a balloon underwater. When you let go, that thing's just going to rush to the surface. The water's going to go flying. And that's what we need. It's exactly what we need.